Boxing this week, 83, I believe. 83, kind of mental. No knockout of the week this week. Copyright, blah, blah, blah. We've explained it before. Hopefully next week, although Zuffa event, can't be sure. Let's just go through the sort of the quick stories. We're not going to talk too much about these, but still worth noting. Virgil Ortiz is banned. He's literally court order banned from negotiating with anyone, but obviously in this case with Jaron Ennis being the key. Looks like De La Hoya's just throwing his toys out the pram because Ortiz doesn't want to make the fight. Oh, Ortiz wants to make the fight. De La Hoya doesn't want to make the fight. Kind of insane that that's even a thing that can happen. So I think the only context we can really give at the moment is Virgil Ortiz Jr. wants to get out of his Golden Boy contract because he feels he's not getting the opportunities that he should. He's therefore gone, I want to fight Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis is with Matchroom. He's gone to negotiate with Matchroom. Golden Boy have turned around and gone, no, you're still in contract with us. And Golden Boy have instantly taken him to court, and the court have said, yeah, you can't negotiate without Golden Boy being involved. And therefore you can't negotiate until their trial is over. It's all kind of boring. I'll be honest. Like, I really wish there was more to that, but unfortunately, there's just not. He is simply just not able to negotiate. I don't think we're going to see that fight this year, basically. Lawrence Coley versus Tony Yoka, decent heavyweight fight in France. Are you excited for that? I don't know if I am or not.
I think it's going to be a big fight. In terms of, I genuinely do. Yoka's a household name. In terms of, we all know who Tony Yoka is.
Yeah.
And Coley is on a trail to, fight. He's high up in the rankings of the WBC. I think he's ranked number 3, being their silver champion or 2. Ajit Caballero, 2 or 1. Ajit Caballero being interim title holder. Coley wants Caballero. He wants to take that interim spot, and I think he's paving a route to heavyweight gold, or to try and get heavyweight gold, whoever that may be, or wait, do a couple more fights. I think he's got enough to beat Yoka. I'll be honest with you. Just because he's more comfortable at heavyweight, and what we're seeing with Coley is just pure, no limit on weight. That restriction's been lifted. The struggle to make cruiserweight affected his performances. It made him sluggish. Probably the reason we saw him hug quite a lot, to be honest with you. We're now seeing a freer Coley at heavyweight, and he's had some good stoppages, to be honest with you. So I don't know how far he can go in terms of this. Obviously, they're talking about him fighting after Yoka, Atama, and these guys, and they are also guys that are 10, 11 years younger than him. So, yeah, interesting times, but a massive fight. Paris as well, big to do boxing out there as well. Obviously, we've just had the Olympics out in Paris. Not just gone. Good to get some French fighters sort of known, I think, to most people. Yeah, maybe boxing fans, bar Yoka, you probably know the likes of Carlos Takam. Outside of that, the stable isn't great in terms of French boxing. So events like this will build, will put us in front of maybe new fighters as well that we haven't seen before.
Yeah,
good all round, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we've also got the announcement of Mayweather and Pacquiao are fighting both in fights before their rematch. Mayweather fighting a kickboxer of sorts, a Zambides in Greece, and Pacquiao fighting a similar sort of time in that sort of April, May area. But he I can't remember who Pacquiao's fighting. I don't know if it's even been announced officially yet. I mean, it's kind of cool that Mayweather's fighting in Greece, but ultimately, I'm not fussed. I'll be honest. The exhibitions and stuff. It's really just to get Mayweather and Pacquiao fit and in training before they fight, so that it doesn't look as stupid. And then we've got a brilliant fight. Benavidez Zerdo announced literally after we filmed last week. We kind of decided not to put it in the show, but we thought, you know what, it's next week's news. Benavidez going up to cruiserweight to fight for Zerdo's titles, which you do have to then question. Zerdo clearly isn't a scared fighter, so why isn't it versus Opetaia? But we are going to speak about Opetaia because it is obviously Zuffa. Trying not to say Zuffa this week. I've noticed I say Zuffa all the time, and apparently it is Zuffa, which, by the way, sounds even more shit than Zuffa, but is what it is. But yeah, let's first of all we mentioned Mayweather's fighting a kickboxer, MMA, all that kind of. Usyk, Oleksandr Usyk, it was announced, is fighting Rico Verhoeven, Dutch kickboxing legend, I believe. He's kickboxing wise is 66 wins, 10 losses.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, 21 by knockout. I mean, it's obviously impressive. He's been champion or around being basically champion for the last 12 years. Yeah, so very good at kickboxing. Do we care? First of all, no. Cool. Glad we agree on that. That's a good start. I can't believe it's even happening. And I'm saying this with a big smile. That is not a smile out of excitement. As much as Usyk fight weeks are always good fight weeks, so I'm not going to pretend that we're not going to watch it. There's no point in pretending that. It's happening in front of the pyramids. I mean, it would be ridiculous to say that that's not cool. That is a very cool thing.
Yeah.
We won't mention it too much, but we will also say, by the way, we spoke about this off camera. Egypt does border Israel, and the horrendous things that are going on in the Middle East and at the moment, there is a chance a fight in Egypt, and pyramids is not southern Egypt. I know Egypt's not a small country, but there's a small chance that this fight won't even happen. But regardless, it currently is, so we'll go off of that basis. Do you want to take a guess? Although I know you already know, but we might as well. Do you want to take a guess as to which boxing belt organization decided this was an okay fight? We'll sanction it. We'll take our 3% because we're okay with this.
What's the first letter of their name?
Well, W, but
what's the last letter of their name?
Crooks. C letter. So,
everything in between that is wanker. Mauricio Suleiman at it once again. One horrific decision in the last week. Two horrific decisions for boxing, but one horrific decision for Mauricio Suleiman this week. This is a sanctioned WBC fight.
Yep.
So my thing is, where does the silliness stop? Because I reckon if one of us creates enough noise, you could get onto the WBC rankings. It seems that easy now.
I think that's all you have to do is have a good Instagram following. Because if you, Jake Paul, take nothing away from him in terms of the fact that he's honestly, and I know this is crazy, he is a more legitimate boxer, and I want to be very clear with boxer, because I'm aware of Rico's, background and what he's done. But Jake Paul is a more legitimate boxer than Rico. And he's a more legitimate boxer than Francis Ngannou. The WBC, they just want money. It's not good. It's not safe. Respect to the other belts, by the way, who, although they've done what they should do, Usyk has essentially, it seems vacated or been stripped of, or at the very least, they're not being represented in this fight. The WBC got a bit of backlash, obviously, as they were going to. They put out a statement almost instantly saying, after careful consideration, the WBC Board of Governors has ruled in favour, of sanctioning WBC World Heavyweight Champion Oleksandr Usyk's voluntary title defence against legendary kickboxing champion Rico Verhoeven at its 63rd annual convention in Bangkok, Thailand. WBC granted champion Usyk a voluntary defence. So, subsequently, the WBC received the petition to sanction the Usyk versus Verhoeven event as a voluntary defence. So they're almost passing it off as it's not our fault. He's within his rights.
Mauricio Sulaiman, is he a crook? If you lot knew what I just said, that had to be cut out.
Bro, I can't focus. I can't focus because I know we can't keep that in.
I'm going to give you lot some context. I only took it out because I don't want us to get sued for the millions that we have. So we've had to take that out. But is Mauricio Sulaiman a crook? Who does he mix with? WBC convention, WBC title on the line. Money, 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 money. Terence Crawford said it. Our sanctioning fees go to you, for you and all the old men that you eat dinner with, to pay for your dinners in your suits at these conventions. That's what the sanctioning fees go to. These go to the fighters. What fighters are these going to? Just because this is their classic line all the time. But what fighters? Because, you know, and I'm sure a fighter will come out and say, yeah, I've had money from it. But up until this point, I've never seen the positive impact of all this sanctioning fee money they get and where it goes. But I'm not convinced it's with the fighters though. Boxing's a very dirty sport, and what I believe is that man is wrong.
100%. 100%. I'm on their website at the moment looking at this 63rd convention, right? So here's the thing you got to remember. Anyone that works for the WBC, governor, all the rest of it, they are being flown out. You know, they're not paying their own flights. They're not paying for their own rooms in the Marriott, which they state on their site is basically $200 a night, including breakfast. Great. They have 1,000 seats at the gala. Last time I checked, a 1,000-seat hall ain't cheap to rent out. They've got special guests. You know, you put all these things together. I'm not saying it's millions and millions of pounds, but we're talking thousands, tens of thousands maybe. It's a good exclusive event. I don't have an issue with these events happening, but we know how the WBC get their money. The WBC don't, you know, they're not like Ring Magazine, who sold magazines, who have their own media channel. The WBC get their money from sanctioning fees. So I don't like when we see them kind of go, oh, do we want to sanction this fight or that fight? And we're going to choose purely based on the money side, even if it makes no sense and it's not safe. Usyk Verhoeven is not a safe fight. Don't get me wrong; it's safer than some of the fights that we've seen thrown up in the air before, that we've discussed, and whether it's a YouTuber versus a world champion, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's safer than that because Verhoeven, at the very least, is a heavyweight who is a still fighting athlete. So it's better than that. It's not Jake Paul, Mike Tyson level of dangerous. But they're going to take basically anywhere between 1% to 3%. I reckon they'll be taking 3%. And that'll pay for the 64th convention, which they'll do somewhere else. It's not a cheap flight from America to Thailand. And I'm guessing these lot aren't flying on some, I don't know what like Thai airline. They're flying Emirates. They're flying, you know, they're flying nice. So this is, it's expensive. So when we hear these events and we see these fights, you can't help but feel anything but it's just through money and greed. It's not, you know, it's nothing more. I have more leeway with the IBF and the WBA, WBO, because at least with them, we do see them vacate and you know, we see that not vacate. We see them strip people of their titles when they don't agree with stuff. WBC do whatever they want. And there's us and there's a few other people that like complain in the comments are not are not happy on the when they released their statement. We've got translated as there was money in it for us, loads of money bag emojis. I have no problem with Usyk fighting another fight from a different discipline, but it should not be for a world title fight. I think that's absolutely fair enough, by the way. That probably is nail on the head. Correct.
Yeah. I don't. And just to elaborate on that, I am 1,000,000% the same. I didn't have a problem with Fury and Ngannou. If Fury and Ngannou wasn't for a world title, and people, can we just clarify that people are using that comparative when they are talking about Rico Verhoeven and Usyk? There's a world title on the line in Usyk's fight. In Fury and Ngannou, the WBC title was not on the line. However, Ngannou was ranked, which is still wrong, but that's another story for another day. The title wasn't on the line. The title's in the line in this fight. You've essentially given, and I don't care if he's had 120 fights in kickboxing. The man has had one fight in the discipline of boxing where you can't use your legs, and it's the stance changes because you're just boxing. You know, if anyone's ever watched kickboxing, we have obviously kickboxing on DFC. The stance that you even stand with and your defense is different to boxing. You are potentially defending kicks and punches depending on what somebody throws at you.
You're more square on,
Whereas, you know, you go and look at a boxer stance, look at a kickboxer stance, two different disciplines. You know, you mentioned in the reel that we posted up on Hook Casuals, he's with Peter Fury. But fair play, great coach Peter Fury, by the way. But you can't polish a turd.
Yeah, no, you're right. Verhoeven has had, just for anyone that wants a little context on his boxing background, he has had a professional fight 12 years ago, and he won by knockout against a guy called Panzer, who was 0-5. So that's it. If that's enough for you, then I think you're a bit crazy, but fine. There's no world where this should be a world title fight. I'm not happy with it. You're right. Peter Fury is a great coach, but he's not a wizard. Like, he's not going to. Usyk is the hardest fight in the heavyweight division for anyone, and beats most of the fighters that only discipline is boxing. Verhoeven is a very good kickboxer, obviously, but I can't also get over the fact the bloke's lost 10 times in kickboxing. Usyk's a special fighter. Are we saying, is Rico Verhoeven the Usyk of kickboxing? I don't think so. Not from what I'm hearing about him. I think he's just a very, very good dominant champion. But yeah, look, I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the WBC. I've got no issue with Usyk taking the gimmicky fight. You know, a voluntary title defense is okay, but there should still be rules about that, about what you're allowed to do. If he volunteered a title defense and said, "Oh, I'm going to fight Anthony Joshua," don't get me wrong, that's still not deserved. Like, AJ shouldn't be in that position. But at least with AJ, it's a pro boxer. It's someone that's been a world champion. It's elite competition, and it's like, okay, he's doing it for the money, but he's done his mandatory. Yeah, okay, fine. I can understand that. This makes no sense. It's in front of the pyramids. That's cool. That's the redeeming factor of it, which
the only thing that this is going to prove once again is why boxing is a superior combat sports form discipline out there. MMA, the most popular, should I say, sorry, MMA. You can't pay the boxers the money to come over to fight over there. In fact, Zuffa Boxing are paying more money to Zuffa than the MMA fighters on UFC. So tell me which one's bigger. And then Glory, which is the promotion that Rico Verhoeven comes from, just to give you an idea, his salary earnings as a champion is anything from 100,000 to 750K. Per fight, which in terms of when you look at Usyk's earnings per fight, is nothing.
Yeah, it's a bag of weight. You know, it's
So
crisp.
I think Usyk's doing Rico a favor and giving him a payday. Usyk might be his daddy.
Rico is not going to have money like this ever again.
So once again,
him, but
boxing to the MMA, to the kickboxing. It's your daddy, man.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, we got Conor Benn. Conor Benn again in the sort of forefront of the news, if you like, because his first fight without Eddie Hearn has been announced. It's against Regis Prograis. For those of you that don't know, although I'd be a bit surprised if you've been watching boxing for any amount of time, really. Regis fought and lost to Devin Haney at 140 pounds. He's fought and lost to Josh Taylor, but in a really close fight. That was sort of prime Regis. He's past his best. He's doing interviews saying that he's not, and that he's still, you know, feels like he's the best he's ever felt. But how many times have we heard that before from older fighters? Like, when we had Conor Benn telling us he wanted Garcia, Barrios, Rolly Romero, Haney's too boring, but he would fight him, you know, Shakur, he was saying all this. And then he leaves Matchroom for a huge contract, one fight contract, $15 million with Zuffa. This fight against Regis doesn't, I believe, count as that fight under Zuffa, by the way. So don't we're still waiting on what Zuffa will do with him. But he then has the huge contract with Zuffa. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, I don't agree with the way he did it, but he's ambitious. He's clearly chasing the big fights. To then fight co-main event Tyson Fury Magomedov, which is fine. Co-main event to Tyson Fury at Wembley is Tottenham Hotspur, sorry, is still massive. But to fight Regis Prograis, it's not a world title. I don't. It's not a bad fight. It's not a great fight. It doesn't. I'm not excited for it. I'll watch it, obviously, but
is this the $15 million fight?
No, don't think so. This doesn't come under Zuffa. Apparently, going to have their own main event for Conor Benn. So the rumor is he'll be number 7, but I don't know. Maybe 8.
So this is obviously Turkey led. This is
Zine's Netflix card, basically.
So, I mean, he's obviously doing the free agent thing, which is mad because, like, realistically, what kind of deal? This makes you think. What kind of deal is Dana White actually? Because it's very misleading to people that don't understand. And you know, when we look at it in hindsight, this isn't a $15 million fight. However, like you say, it's coming up. So what is this? What is Conor Benn doing now? That's what I want to know. Regis Prograis was once a great fighter. Like Conor said, if you didn't know him, you know, you should know him really. He's been been a former world champion, a former champion. Listen, Regis Prograis once upon a time was a great fighter, man. But you know, Devin Haney lost, followed by Catterall.
Yeah.
Jack Catterall lost. He obviously come back, fought a guy in university. From what I could see, no one knew he was even having a fight.
Yeah, Joseph Diaz he fought last year, but like you say, it tiny event, it's proper tiny.
So my thing is, you know, when we look at it in hindsight, Conor Benn's probably coming off the back of more activity, but also, you know, Regis Prograis done an interview and said he turned down the fight at first. He rang back, said, "Is there, you know, a weight limit for Conor Benn?" Conor Benn seems to have a problem with weight cuts, which is something else I wanted to bring up because, you know, the very thing that he gave Eubank stick for, he's kind of doing with all the younger fighters now. Why don't you want a limit on your weight? Because all that means really is Conor Benn could come in fight night 180, 190 pounds if he wants to. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he will, but he'll probably come in at about 175. Now,
Yeah, against Eubank, he would have been around 170.
But
yeah.
I'm saying against Regis, if they're fighting at 154, we've seen it before. Regis Prograis can't make. Regis Prograis looks small against Devin Haney.
This is the thing that also I'm not sure about. I don't know what weight this fight's even at.
I'm hearing it's 154.
If it's 154, then this is a pointless fight. Even more pointless than fighting a bloke that has fought 3 times in basically 3 years and lost twice, and his only win was against I mean this in the nicest way, but a washed up Jojo Diaz. So if it's 154, Regis, the heaviest Regis has ever fought is 142. That's against Jojo Diaz. So catch weight. To then ask him to put 12 pounds on to make weight properly when Conor Benn's going to be weighing 170, you're just sending a lamb to slaughter. That's what that is. That is just so that Conor Benn can get another win. It's food. It's food. That is not. That doesn't interest me. 37-year-old Regis, who's pretty inactive, hasn't fought for a while. His last fight was a win. That he won. And a win's a win. You can't take that away from him. But against Jojo Diaz, who is not the same fighter that he once was, it's disappointing when you think what we were going to get or what we thought we were going to get with Conor Benn. It's a big letdown. Obviously, there will be an element maybe that comes to play that Dana White has kind of said, you can fight on this card as the co-main. I don't want you in a 50-50. I don't want you fighting a Ryan Garcia, which obviously that wouldn't be a co-main event, but potentially there's that because Zuffa have put a big investment into Conor Benn. Zuffa and Turki Al-Sheikh Ring Magazine are obviously working very closely together. Potentially it's something like that. I can't see another way that I can't see a world where it's not something like that because Regis Prograis, until this fight was announced, was never in line to fight Conor Benn. There was no talk of it because nobody wants to see that fight. That's not an interesting fight. Conor Benn adds him to his resume as a knockout win. Fine, it's a good name, but it's not the context of it. I'm not fussed. I mean, realistically, what I think is going to happen, Ben knocks Regis Prograis out and then says, I did better than Devin Haney did. And people will run with that a little bit. Sensible people will look at it for what it is, which is Devin Haney went and met Prograis, who was world champion, at his weight and outboxed him for 12 rounds, knocked him down, and that was a good Prograis. I'm not. I don't like this fight. I don't like this fight at all. And you are right about the weight stuff. Conor Benn does seem to have a problem with that. That's so weird.
Now, hear me out, and I'm going to say one thing when it comes to this. This is a man who, I'll be honest with you, as a boxing fan, I take back what I've said and question whether he actually cheated or not, and he's not telling people the truth. Okay. Because the way that he acts and the way that he goes about, like why don't you want to commit to a weight? It's just very dodgy. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. No, you're right. It's dodgy.
You just, definitely. He wants to fight Shakur with no weight limit. He wants to fight Shakur with no stipulation in place about weight, as if. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm really. I'll be honest with you, and this is a platform where we are openly honest about how we speak about. And I don't say this about many people because of the type of show we have, but I'm really failing to understand Conor Benn's decision making in the way he's doing things, and the way that he's acting is weird. This fight is not 50-50. For that reason, when I watched this fight, it's going to be a stepping stone for Conor Benn. The Regis Prograis was sent in there to give him a hard time. Of course, he's going to believe that he's going to win, but we all know he's not going to win.
Yeah.
Conor Benn's going to be too heavy on the night. He's going to beat Regis Prograis. He goes on. I can't see Turkey, I'm having as much of a negative opinion on about nowadays as I am with everything else, to be honest with you. But Turkey can't or won't send him into this a fight, a 50-50 fight. His interests also lie with Zuffa Boxing. And they'll want to look to capitalize and maximize money on the money they make from the Conor Benn fight. Him losing now doesn't look good. So in the interest of a promoter, I think they'll be stupid. And we know how much money Saudi haven't made in boxing and how much of a loss that they're at. So they could do with earning a few quid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Zuffa is probably the first profitable thing they've invested in. And I don't think it's profitable yet. But I'm guessing that the shows individually have made money. Speaking of Zuffa 4, the first big show as well, Opetaia versus Brandon Glanton. Now, the first thing we're going to mention actually came out about an hour ago. The IBF on Fight Week, which I don't agree with, by the way. They've left this too late. You know, it's a little bit unfair, but IBF have given Opetaia a world title ultimatum. Reportedly, they've requested one of either Jai Opetaia vacates his IBF world title, and then he's allowed to fight for the Zuffa world cruiserweight title this weekend, or keeps the IBF but does not take the Zuffa title. Realistically, Jai Opetaia has no choice but to vacate. I don't see a world where Dana White turns around and goes, yeah, do you know what? What my belt doesn't mean anything. You can just win. Just keep the IBF. Just no. He's gonna want Jai Opetaia with the Zuffa world title wrapped around him. That is what he'll want to see. That's the photo. That's the media. That's the video. That's the clips after the event. He doesn't want the IBF anyway. So I don't like the fact that the IBF have done this week, because you've given him, well, not even this week, but halfway through this week, they've given him 4 days to decide. Why not announce it when the fight gets announced that you want that? But yeah, so look, that's a whole different thing in itself. Opetaia's fighting Brandon Glanton. Event-wise, we'll speak about the main event in a second. Event-wise, it's good. It's good. Look, I'm not going to read all the names, but basically 14-0 fights 14-0, 14-0 fights 11-1, 4-1 fights 8-0, 9-0 fights 6-0, 10-0 fights 16-4, and then the sort of main card, if you like, a few more losses, but losses at higher levels, so you can kind of excuse it. Ricardo Rodriguez 22-2-2, Jesus Saracho 16-2-2, Vlad Panin 23-2, Shinard Bunch 22-3-1. Not going to lie to you, because we're not liars. I've never heard of any of them. I'm not going to pretend. I'm going to have a very quick scan. Okay. Ricardo Rodriguez beat Romain Villa, and he knocked him out. Romain Villa is somebody that you may know. He fought Jaron Ennis. So there's a few decent fighters, but realistically, still not the level that we've been kind of promised. But I'm okay with it. It's a good competitive card. Opetaia Glanton. It's not the best fight. It's really not. I mean,
I think we've been talking about Zuffa quite a lot, and I'm going to try not to ramble on when I say this, because obviously I want to keep it short and sweet. But really and truly, from Dana White's point of view, is poor. You can't tell me that, these are things that you don't think about when negotiating contracts or negotiating the fights or matchmaking the fights and arranging the fights. as a potential factor that can have a detrimental effect on your fight. And you, as the matchmaker, haven't turned around and thought, how do we deal with this? Right? So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing, we kind of knew this was going to happen. Dana White has took this approach where he's essentially slagged off all the boards.
Yep.
He wants boxing to be like the UFC. That is the whole selling point of his platform, his fighters. However, we knew that there would be a conflict of interest. I thought it was quite mad that the IBF was working with Zuffa by allowing Jay Opetaia to sign and they don't strip him.
Yeah.
And, we thought, okay, cool. But maybe there's a part of me that thinks, but they've done it on purpose. Fight week to make a statement on their intent and the board's intent to sit there and go, we are not taking this, so we'll make you wait. Let them announce their fight. Get to the fight week. Now you've got a choice: Zuffa or IBF. And I feel like the IBF have probably got one up on Dana here because it's probably given him a lot of work to do this week and a lot of conversations to be had with Jay Opetaia. The other thing on the other hand is Opetaia. I do have to ask the question: these guys that they're attracting to fight on Zuffa, there's got to be a reason they're going. Opetaia is not a stupid man. We know obviously how good he is and how great he can be, but numbers wise, he's not a promoter's dream because he doesn't sell a lot. He doesn't make a promoter a lot of money. But is he the best cruiserweight in the division? I believe so. At the moment, in terms of, obviously you've got Benavidez in there. I think he beat Zerdo. Benavidez, I think Benavidez is going to be there or thereabouts in terms of the top cruiserweights. And if Benavidez beats Zerdo, that's a massive statement. But I just think when it comes to this whole saga with them, I just can't see. I failed to understand how Dana White hasn't seen this coming.
I agree, and I especially someone with the business prowess as well with Dana White, how it feels obvious that the IBF weren't going to be keen on letting Jai fight for a belt that symbolises the end of IBF and other boxing belts.
Yeah.
But there's potential Dana White knew this would happen, and realistically, I don't see how this doesn't end up with Opetaia vacating the IBF. He's on a Zuffa show. Like, in what world is he going to end up saying? I cannot see Zuffa being okay with Jai Opetaia saying, "Do you know what? I'm not going to fight for the Zuffa. I'll just fight for the IBF." But equally, Zuffa promised Jai he could fight for Undisputed. Jai Opetaia can't fight for Undisputed without the IBF world title. So I think the IBF have played this really well. As much as I think it's not nice of them to do this on fight week on Wednesday. Like, it's not nice, especially in a sport where the focus should be on the fight, not outside things. But from a business point of view, smart guns.
I still think that they can, but he can fight for Undisputed, and I think Dana White's just got to play a smart game. Can you want to keep Jai Opetaia? Can you not allow him to fight for a world title? Build the cruiserweight division up. Once he's won Undisputed, bring him in and then start winning Zuffa titles.
Yeah,
this is another way they can go about it.
I think that's the best way to go about it.
That is the best way if you want to retain your fighter. Otherwise, by the sounds of it, you'd be breaching the contract.
Yeah, look, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I mean, the fight itself, take the titles away, it's disappointing. Like, Glanton is someone that Chris Billam-Smith has beat. Billam-Smith a very good cruiserweight, but Billam-Smith is somebody that Zerdo beat relatively easily in a tough fight. It was a very tough fight for both, but Zerdo won that fight quite comfortably in the end. So when you're talking about levels, Brandon Glanton It's just getting a bit worrying when you look at the resume of Jai Opetaia and you're thinking,
does he have the most underwhelming resume out there?
I think so. Look, he's beat Breeder. He beat Maris Breeders, who at the
Breeders
time
is a great win.
Yeah, and in 2022, that's a real considerable win. He then beat Jordan Thompson, who wasn't, I don't think, ready for that fight.
Small hall fire.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, Thompson's 15-0. I mean, if you go off of the records, then sure, it looks like a great resume that Jai Opetaia is holding, but I don't believe so. Jordan Thompson, I think, was British level at the time of that fight,
Yeah.
And probably still is. So here's what it is. Ellis Zorro got given an absolute amazing opportunity, but last minute. He got thrown into the deep end last minute. No fighter in their right mind turns that down. But Ellis Zorro was not world level at that point. Yeah, he fought Breedis again, beat Breedis again. Fine. Not massive issue with that. That's not a bad win. Jack Massey, good fighter. Not world level. David Onyeka, very good fighter, very good prospect. Not world level. Claudio Squeal, I believe, came up in weight for the fight. Am I right in saying? No, he didn't. But Claudio Squeal's fight before that was against 16 and 18 Orlando Estrada. Then he had a good win against 17 and 2 for the European. And then it was 10 and 5, 6 and 3, 6 and 2, 23 and 9. Like, they're not great. They're not great wins. That's not a world level fighter. And then Hussein Sin who, again, not long before fighting Jai Opetaia, was fighting people with 14 losses, 10 losses. So I don't think he's fought a world level fighter since the first Breeders fight. It's becoming hard to look at Opetaia and keep saying he's the best. Because as much as the quality is there, the power is there, the movement, like, we see it all, definitely. But Zerdo's fighting the top guys. Chris Billam-Smith is fighting and trying to fight the top guys. There's a lot of fighters who should be fighting Jai Opetaia.
Yeah.
And they're not getting the opportunity. And it does not help when you see Zerdo's got in a fight with Benavidez. That makes me question Opetaia more than it does Zerdo. Because now Benavidez is a riskier fight. Benavidez is definitely the most talented of the three. He comes up to cruiserweight and wins the title. Then he's already a monster, but then, like, we've got a real problem on our hands, because then we've got a guy that might clear 175. I don't know if he'll beat Bivol and Beterbiev, but he's definitely close. But then we've got a guy that could win, or at least be very competitive at 175, and who will clear out the cruiserweight. Like, I'm worried about Opetaia. I'm worried about where that career is going, because Brandon Glanton's not good enough fight.
No, see, very disappointing fight to watch.
Yeah.
It's going to be one-sided. Opetaia is going to win, but Brandon Glanton, yes, he wants to fight. Opetaia says he wants to fight people who are just want to fight, but he's just not good enough to be in there with Opetaia, and that's exactly. That is literally it. But yeah, that's all I've got to say on sort of that. A bit of a weird week of boxing decisions, cards, fighters, names announced to fight each other. Conor, I don't know about you, but get me to next week.
Yeah, we've got one more thing. Unfortunately, one more thing. It's a bit of a weird one. Queensbury did a reel about it. We don't know anything more about it, but I want to bring this up. Not even maybe for a minute. Queensbury filed a $1 billion lawsuit against SELA and TKO. Now, I am going to read out the article by Will Esco on badlefthook.com. Shout out them. Good on them, because they're the only people that have published anything about this. So actually, if you search this up, and the first thing that comes up on Google is us talking about it. So it's weirdly not that big in the news, but it's a big story. Queensberry have filed a lawsuit seeking $1 billion in damages, lost income, whatever, against SELA and TKO Group for alleged breach of contracts. Queensberry claims entered into an exclusive deal with SELA back in September 2023 to offer its access and expertise, which directly led to Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. They also claim their contract with TKO Group, the parent company that owns WWE and UFC, includes access to its online data. Sounds like a really stupid contract, but whatever. Queensberry claimed that SELA and TKO partnering to create Zuffa Boxing was done behind its back and breached contractual terms of their agreement, depriving them up to $1 billion in income had they been honoured, as it appears that Zuffa had recently secured a media rights deal with Paramount Plus that is said to be worth $100 million a year for 12 cards per year. Now, the only reason I want to bring this up, because we don't know much about this. All we know is it looks like Queensberry are going to file a lawsuit. We do also know that Frank Warren likes a lawsuit and does do this often. I just want to bring up the monopoly that is boxing right now. Turki Al Sheikh, major shareholder. Well, he owns Ring Magazine, right? Bought outright. He owns Ring Magazine. SELA and TKO. He's of SELA he owns. TKO Group he doesn't. But Turkey owns the media, the promoters, like next to with the broadcasters. Ring Magazine put out a statement, which I'm sure many people saw. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a little bit too long, and realistically, it will get boring if I'm just reading out. But this is from Ring Magazine's official Instagram. Rumours are circulating in the boxing world that Queensberry is in financial trouble without a continued business relationship with SELA and TKO. There is no article, by the way, that suggests this. Nothing in the world suggests Queensberry in trouble except Ring Magazine. Just let that sit, you know. Queensberry have not been promoting any Riyadh season fights since last November. That is true. You'll see even in the ring, there's no Riyadh season, nothing like that. There's been intensified concern among the stable within. Basically, they've wrote a statement, Ring Magazine, which just degrades Queensberry and Frank Warren and their business sense, saying that their fighters are looking to leave. They even go on to say, has it been? Yeah, they even go on to say that rumours indicate that their announcement to the media of legal action was timed before their Wardley Dubois press conference, which took place today, but that's a week ago, for an event which is struggling to sell tickets, which, again, no indication that's the case. It's a 23,000-seater Manchester Carp Arena for a heavyweight title fight in Britain between two British fighters. It looks like that's going to sell out pretty comfortably. Do we have a bit of a problem if one guy owns everything?
Yes.
Yeah.
However, I've got no sympathy for Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren because, you know, this was a good idea to an extent, I suppose. We got to see the fights you wanted to see. But hindsight, looking at it, it always had its pros and cons, this Saudi relationship or the Riyadh season relationship. However, as we've got to know Turki Al Sheikh more, he wants his fingers in every pie. You know, it's got to be conflict of interest if you're helping to run a business like Matchroom with Matchroom. And then on the other hand, you've got their rivals, Zuffa.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that Dana White sees... I don't think that Frank Warren cares too much about Dana White. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Queensberry put on great cards. They do the small hall cards. They've got a small hall network. Queensberry got a great network. So have Matchroom. But I think because of the personality that Eddie Hearn is, I think he's more likely to get involved with Dana White in terms of a verbal. But, you know, the one guy owning boxing just can't work. It doesn't work. We're seeing it now. He's got a taste for power, Turki Al Sheikh, and he wants to have control of everything. And Frank Warren has been in this game too long. He's not somebody that can be controlled. you know, if we, I'm sure he's been through worse things in his life. It's how he got the scar on his face, being one of the legendary stories that Frank Warren's probably got about him, and that is in his promoter days. But, you know, Queensberry have been about for ages. They'll be about for a long time afterwards. What Turkey Al-Sheikh forgets about the British boxing fans is, you know, the link between Riyadh and the British boxing fans is Queensberry and Matchroom. Piss them two off. You don't have a link. They're the two biggest promoters in the country. You could bring in Ben Shalom now. However, as we know, rightly so, in comparison to Matchroom and Queensberry, the stable isn't
it's not
as
a
big.
Comparison, really. It's no comparison.
And then you've got the small hall shows, which, you know, I think Turkey should invest into those if he's going to invest into anything, just so I could see them earn a bit of money, to be honest. But, you know, he might target the small hall shows as like a next-gen kind of thing to bring fighters through. We don't know. However, this one person owning boxing is going to, potentially, you'll end up seeing sports washing.
Yeah. It's not good. It's because it's not even... It's not even the idea of a UFC type format. I'm okay for that. I'm actually all for that. But when you've got one bloke calling the shots on everything, including the biggest media outlet for boxing, one of the biggest media outlets, full stop, in Ring Magazine, who are now putting out an article that is one of the most one-sided, biased, and seemingly blatantly lying, you know, statements that I think I've ever seen. You worry about, you know, this is just the start as well. We're 4 events in with Zuffa. It's not like we're hundreds of events in. We're 4 events in, and we're already having this kind of power dynamic. Yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry. It'll be very interesting. I think, you know, let us know in the comments, because really, some people have been back in Turkey saying, do you know what? He can do what he wants. He puts his money's where his mouth is, so who cares? I don't agree, but it'd be interesting to see what people think about that. That's boxing this week. That is boxing this week. There's been a lot going on. Next week, we obviously will have Opetaia, Glanton. We're going to talk about Zuffa again. We're going to keep talking about them because realistically, it's probably one of the biggest things going on. We got a whole lot to speak about. No doubt there's going to be more. I mean, Inoue Nakatani is getting officially announced on Friday, hopefully. So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Make sure you're subscribed. We are closing in on the 500. We have got a giveaway at 500. You should be subscribed. We are here every week, 7:45 Thursday. And follow on Instagram and TikTok as well, because sometimes exclusive content that doesn't go out on YouTube or doesn't go out on one platform goes out there. So thank you very much for watching. Paolo, do you have anything you'd like to say to the lovely people at home?
Good morning, good evening, good night.